is Ken Okolugbo. Mr. Okolugbo is a consultant, communications and strategy in the office of the Senate President. A fine morning to you, Ken.
Thank you, Uncle Yori, for having me.
Always our pleasure, sir. So, how would you say things have been in the Senate? It looks like, you know, of course, we know what the business of the National Assembly is and the Senate, but then you've also had quite a number of extracurricular, shall I say, matters to be dealing with. All in all, how would you assess the Senate at this midterm?
Okay, I actually thought we were going to first of all look at the state of the nation. That's the midterm report of the president before the Senate. Yes, you know the Senate has a spokesman, Senator Yemi Adaramodu. He's going to actually reel out the scorecard of the Senate on the 13th of June, which will exactly be 2 years of when the Senate would have been.
Yeah, that was when the 10th Senate was inaugurated.
And there are documentaries that you'll be watching, and there are jingles that he would speak to, that you'll watch, where senators told the story in their own words, you know, this time not for people with verifiable facts, how the 10th Senate have come. Yes, one of the things that the Senate have achieved under Godswill Akpabio has been unique in the sense that for 2 years, it was amazing. By the time we were carrying out a review, and I was telling Senator Adaramodu that I'm very surprised myself, seeing the statistics that, you know, which you cannot, you know, facts are very sacred, Yori. You cannot deny of what this 10th Senate has achieved, you know, vis-a-vis the Senate before it, the 8th, the 9th Senate, the 7th Senate, and you will not believe that in 2 years, 5 commissions, development commissions, not only have been, you know, the bills have been passed into law, but have been assented to by the president. The Northeast Development Commission, sorry, the Northeast Development Commission was already there. And now what we have added is the Northwest Development Commission, the North Central Development Commission, the Southwest Development Commission, the South-South Development Commission, and the Southeast Development Commission. And these are all commissions that are geared towards developing, you know, I'm a public affairs analyst, and you know how I can critique. But these commissions are not only to complement what the state governments are doing, but you know, look, normally when you have a government in power, they will say anything that the APC federal government sends to a state that is not of APC, maybe PDP, Labour, you know, or ABGA, it will be hijacked by the members of the party. But these development commissions are geared towards, you know, blocking those loopholes that we have had in the past and taking the government nearer to the people. And, you know, it's never been done in any Senate, 5 commissions at once. Recently, 39 federal medical centers were passed into law, even though that has not been assented to by the president. But you talk about the student loan funds, you know, all these things are things, yeah, I will not be able to reel out all of them. I'm just giving you an overview that will be dealt with by Senator Yemi Adaramodu, the spokesperson of the Senate and the image maker of the Senate. Yes.
But since it's the business of the legislative houses to write laws, that is, cause laws to come into being, a lot of some of the things you've spoken about were coming from the executive. Are there things that have been self-generated that Nigerians need to know? You could connect this, if you want, to...
No, I think the NEL fund, you can say the NEL fund most likely was an executive bill, but the commissions were not executive bills. They were bills that were developed by the Senate. And look, even the federal medical centers were bills that were developed by the Senate. I said 39. I can't even reel out all the federal universities and federal colleges of education that were generated by the Senate. And don't forget that it was in this same Senate that the Minimum Wage Act, the Senate had to be involved in negotiations for the Minimum Wage Act of 70,000. We all know that 30,000 naira take home was even the 70,000 cannot even fend for the average family in a month, if we must be realistic. But you saw the speed at which the Senate passed the Minimum Wage Act. And you can also talk about the judicial salary that was reviewed to 300%. That was also an act. Not to talk of the fact that judges are now allowed to retire by 70. Yes, I understand where you're coming from that question, but it's cooperation that usually comes in from the executive. The executive bills are not more than 16. Do you understand? Okay. But the bills that have been passed by this Senate are over 50, and over 25 have been assented to by Mr. President. Okay. Like I said, all that will be reeled out on the 13th of June, and you'll be amazed at what Senator
on the actual anniversary.
Will be reeling out. Yes,
okay. Yes. You mentioned now in passing that you know, take a look at the minimum wage revision bill, and you mentioned the fact that look, when it was 30, it was impossible. Even now that it is 70, well, you just said it. It hardly does what it was intended to do. So do you have an inkling into why, having said what you said, and quite frankly, you spoke the truth, just about everybody in the country knows it, that they didn't shoot for more? Yes, they are not labor. You can say it is a division of labor. Labor has its own to do, said it has its own to do. The fact that most of us know that 70,000 naira, especially for a family, or even if it's a family of one or two, hardly suffices. What do you think is going on where we couldn't sort of put that as a benchmark, underline that fact that we are not able to do as much as we want to do? And, there was a time they were speaking about 100.
Well, you see, we have to be realistic. There are even some state governments that are not still paying the 70,000. I think it is criminal for any state government not to pay that 70,000. We are all realistic of the situation we have found ourselves in the country right now. You see, the government of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu took a huge risk. The huge risk was that on the first day he came into power, he removed petroleum subsidy, which was a huge monster that had been eating into our future. And besides that, the government of Buhari did not even provide for subsidy. So he didn't even have a choice, even though some people said, oh, he could have come by way of supplementary budget to the incoming National Assembly and they would have walked a way around it. But he was bold enough. This was a decision that some even military governments did not take. And there we had two-pronged approaches. One, he removed subsidy. The Naira exchange was left to be determined by the variances of the market forces. And so we were going through very serious economic crisis where fuel was almost getting to 1,000 naira a litre. And so it was only natural that the 30,000 naira minimum wage became unrealistic, especially the state governments, which had now benefited from the removal of fuel subsidy. They were earning a whole lot more than they were earning before because the exchange rates and removal of subsidy meant more income. But the federal government was meant to bear the brunt. And so the federal government said, look, we're going to lead by example. We're going to increase minimum wage to 70,000 naira, which they actually did. And you can imagine the negotiations, like you rightly said. In fact, the Labour said 600 and something thousand until they got to 100,000 before they eventually got to a realistic figure of 70,000 naira. But if you look at the 70,000 naira, it was about 2-3 weeks of negotiations before it was passed into law. And what people don't know is that the Minimum Wage Act is a law. If you pay anything less than that, you have violated the law. And so it beats my imagination that some state governments are still contemplating that. It doesn't even only go to civil servants. We're looking at the private sector, and we're looking at other departments that exploits people by saying, instead of having workers confirmed, they have this casual labor system that they can hide under and continue to pay paltry amounts of 30,000, 25,000, and you expect that there should be no crime in the society. So I think for now, the 70,000 is a stepping stone, but like you have also pointed out, it will still call for more revision. And that's why the tax reform bill is very key, because the tax reform bill, first of all, puts the people who are earning 70,000 naira now, they exempt them from paying tax. But more importantly, it's going to show up the revenue of the country in terms of funds that are being generated, IGR. We're not earning what we're supposed to earn in agriculture and in mining. We must face realities. The agricultural sector is bedeviled with the farmer headers crisis. And even Benue, that is supposed to be our food basket, you can see the crisis that is going on there now, and Plateau too. So by the time the president signs in the tax reform bill into law, I believe that when those funds, the IGRA increases, we will have a reason to also maybe ask that the wages for the labor unions to be adjusted. Because if you look at the what do they call it? If you look at the budget, for example, the budget clearly says that we are on 54.9 trillion, which is about 55 trillion. My mic is off.
Okay, I think there's some slight distraction. I'm sure you'll be back with us. Ken, can you hear us? Okay. Ken Okolobo is our guest, taking care of some sort of... Okay, Ken, are you back?
Yes, I'm back. I was just a bit... maybe my phone was ringing. I was wondering if you couldn't hear me from the studio. Were you hearing me from the studio?
We were hearing both you and your phone, which was a bit surprising. You know that we don't come into the studio
sorry
with
about
a live
that.
phone.
You know, if I was in Lagos, you would have treated me the way you treat me, like a headmaster. You would have treated me the way you treat me, like a headmaster. I wouldn't have had my phone ringing.
Okay, it happens.
So I was talking about the budget and the fact that today the budget, and we must be realistic, and that's why you must give it to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has been thinking out of the box. Brent crude is selling for less than $60, which is the same thing as Bonny Light. And the budget is predicated on $75. That is what it is. Yes. That's the benchmark. And over 2 million, maybe 2,060,000 barrels for sale every day. And at an exchange rate of 1,500. So if we're not doing that, it only follows that we must have to look for inward ways to show up the revenue, looking at our GDP. But don't forget that even after the rebasing, inflation still stands at 24%. So when people say Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing well, we must also give him that kudos in terms of the economic aspect, because very few presidents will be able to survive with what is happening now with the price of crude oil and the fact that you're not producing even up to 1.8 million barrels, talk less of the 2,060,000 barrels that your budget is predicated on.
You know, Ken, perhaps it's a difficult thing to sort of think about or to say. As you were just talking about the state of the Nigerian worker. The members of the Senate, the members of the National Assembly are also workers. Nothing is happening to their remunerations. And look at the great disparity between theirs and the bottom of the pyramid. There was no empathy of, you know what, I think in the circumstances we need to adjust our receivables to show that we're in the same country and quote unquote we do go to the same market. You know, nothing like that.
I can actually speak to that. Senator Yemi Adaramodu will speak to that. But I think that's been severally dealt with, that some of these figures that have been bandied are not the same figures that people should take to heart, that is what is being earned by the senators and the House of Rep members. And don't also forget that some of these will represent federal constituencies and senatorial districts. And the constituents also expect so much from them. Basically, what is the duty of a legislator is to make laws and oversight functions. But people do not look at it that is their basic responsibility. They expect them to not only attract developmental projects, but they also expect empowerment programs to come from them. And looking at what the Nigeria is facing right now, you cannot even imagine what maybe some of the senators and House of Rep members are going through. Having to create salaries for their constituents and having to also share what they earn in terms of emolument to mitigate the huge disparity of what some of them earn. And so you can never know except you're wearing that shoe, Uncle Yori.
How tough it is for everybody, without exception, is what you're saying. We're all in this together.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. In a sense, haven't we sort of entered where you thought we might have started from, the state of the nation? Let me take your view on that, because, you know, as you've said, okay, if we want to talk about the Senate in particular and in minute detail, perhaps we have to wait for Senator Adaramodu when he comes on the 13th, the actual anniversary. But okay, let's talk about the state of the nation. How do you see it, the state of the nation? Because you could take it from so many different aspects. You look at it politically, where there's been, you know, we had the opportunity to speak with the Secretary of Senator, well, not in former senator, but once a senator, always a senator. He's secretary of the ruling party, and he has said that, what do you want us to do? If people are knocking your door, want to, you know, to pay a visit, or do you close your door against them? As you know, this has led to so many people wanting to show, quote unquote, goodwill to the ruling party. And there are those who are saying that the way this is going is worrisome. Would you, let's look at your impressions. As you said, you're an analyst yourself. This whole problem, this whole question about might we have the semblance of a one-party state in the making?
Well, Uncle Yeri, you can testify the fact that I had PDP in my DNA. I have appeared on your program and over again, and you know how I was very opposed to the last government and how I stood very firmly against a lot of their policies. But it's when I left the PDP on the 22nd of June, that was 2022, a whole lot of people didn't understand what I was seeing. You know, this issue of blaming President Tinubu for people coming to meet or join his party, I think it's simply absurd. You know, the PDP was already, you know, geared towards implosion as from that decision that was taken. You know, some of us are very vociferous. I'm happy my brother Shegu has seen a couple of the things we saw in 2022, which he didn't agree with us then, because a few of us were quite close. Some of us do speak for the party.
Shegu Shewumi.
Like Kazim Afegwa.
You're talking about Shegu Shewumi.
Afegwa, who in fact, Kazim even left before I left the party, yes. Shegu is very close to me. You know, when I left in 2022, a lot of them didn't understand why I left the PDP. First, it was the biggest mistake the PDP did was to take the decision of zoning the presidency outside the South. Some of us had sentiments, I must not lie to you, that this presidency should have gone to the Southeast. You know, I tried to be very frank. And for me, I was zeroing in on Peter Obi, because then we're all members of the party, because it was going to be a contest between Peter Obi and Pius Anyim, until he threw it open. And Anyim was there, Peter Obi was there, they had all bought forms. Then Wike came, and Udom Emmanuel came, and Atiku now threw his hat into the ring. And everything was pointed towards the fact that they had decided that it was going to be Atiku. I'm also happy my former governor, Ifeanyi Okowa, you know, also saw what we were seeing as at that time, because I greatly disagreed with him. He was the leader of our party in PDP, and I remember sitting down with him and having a one-on-one with him. And we argued these things for, not even for 30 minutes. You know, but today he has seen the positions some of us took, that the PDP was greatly carrying out the worst injustice you could imagine by deciding to zone the presidency outside of the South-South. And that was when the implosion started. Atiku was hell-bent on running for presidency, and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was very smart. He remained in the course. Peter Obi pulled out, and some of us left the party, and the party has never been the same again. Why am I using the PDP as a point of focus? Because that is the main opposition party that we have now. And ever since I left, 2022 to now is about, that is, have we not reached 22nd of June? I think we have, okay, we're not yet there. But that's 3 years of 22, 23, 3 years of my leading the party. You understand? And what I predicted, it's sad to say, is coming to pass. The implosion I told them was going to happen, because you can't put something on nothing. They had taken a wrong decision. When I was a spokesperson, when I was one of the spokespersons for President Goodluck Jonathan, in which you know too, there were some decisions that were taken in that 2011 that, you know, a lot of people did not know about. So it's not for me to start rehearsing that. So when President Goodluck Jonathan threw his hat into the ring in 2015, we got our fingers burnt because a lot of people have felt that we are taking the time of Yar'Adua. And President Jonathan had done almost 6 years. So why didn't we go back to the north? But everybody, they were goading him and leading him on. And at the end of the day, PDP lost power. So people that are coming to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu are coming because one of the things they are seeing is the bold initiative he has taken, is the risk he's taking. You might call him all sorts of names, but today we are seeing light at the end of the tunnel. Look at Abuja, where I am today. The PDP was in power. Abuja has never been like this. The International Conference Center was just commissioned, one of the huge cultural centers we have ever had, where diplomatic events take place and so many events take place. Since 1991, when it was built by President Babangida, it had never undergone renovation. And now it has been totally reconstructed. I wouldn't even call that renovation. Look at our roads in Abuja. Look at even the hinterlands. I built 8 flats in Abuja in 2001 in Kubwa. And I remember very well when I built those flats, I remember what Kubwa used to look like, or what the roads were like. Oh, of course, Kubwa has not gotten, the minister has not gotten to Kubwa the way we want him to go to work in Kubwa. But I know it is coming. But look at the infrastructures that have been provided. So all those hinterlands, all those satellite areas that were before now abandoned are being touched. And that is what government is all about. Yes, we are not yet there in terms of the economy. I will not come here and start lying about that. It's not yet to Huru. In terms of security, we are facing our challenges. But President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has taken the bull by the horn. And that is why you see governor of my state, for the first time, Delta has become an APC state. Akwa Ibom has become an APC state. You can say in Akwa Ibom, it might not have been bad like Delta, where we had so much friction. Akwa Ibom, they had this kind of unity, they had this kind of seamless unity between my boss, Godswill Akpabio, and Pastor Omoeno. Well, in Delta, it wasn't the same. But there was a whole lot of opposition to Governor Sheriff. Until now, he has joined the APC. So where is the opposition going to come from?
Well, okay. You talk about, well, bold moves, even risk-taking. And you spoke well of Abuja now under its current, quote-unquote, landlord, to paraphrase the president at a certain time. The landlord of Abuja is a PDP man, as is well known. He's a sworn PDP man that is not going anywhere. So what exactly, it shows that there still is stuff within the PDP, so much so that, even the current, the ruling party has had to, as it were, borrow from there. And he's doing a fantastic job. The president says so. You yourself have implied as much now. So are you happy that you've left the PDP? Look, that ship was sinking, and people who saw or could see had to get off in time before it sunk finally. Are you happy about that? Or, as people like Showumi are saying, speaking about Shekun Showumi, I think those ones are saying that, look, it's not all over for the PDP, the main opposition party. Now, I'm speaking here against that whole idea that we're heading for a one-party state. There still are some, competent elements within PDP. I mean, it's only if you don't have a television or you don't have a phone, so you won't see on discussion programs or on social media that there still are vociferous, defenders of the main ruling of the main, opposition.
Well, you've put a lot of questions in one question.
All of it, all of it going to that.
I'm very
it's happy. A PDP man that is doing all of these things, under, of course, working with, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but he's
a PDP man in APC, a PDP man in APC government. That's a PDP man wearing an APC coat. Yeah, let's not. The buck stops at President Tinubu's table.
Exactly.
Yes, an individual makes a difference. I've always said that. And that's one of the things I liked about my former governor, Governor Odwan. He always identified individuals who could make a difference when he was the governor of Delta State. And I enjoyed my time working with him because he gave us a free hand. And when I was a commissioner in that state, I did 90 projects. I'm not trying to be immodest, without being immodest. Do you understand? And it was unheard of because for the kind of commission I was in, it had never happened. And that's because the governor gave me the free hand. The governor made sure he did not interfere with our funds. So are you going to give Ken that credit? You don't give Ken that credit. Yes, Ken was the driver of the process, but the credit goes to Governor Emmanuel Eweta Odua, who appointed me. So yes, I can see what you're trying to say, that Nyesom Wike is a PDP man, but the buck stops at President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's table. In fact, he had made a joke in local parlance, say monkey they jump, monkey they jump. Naturally, when you make monkey they jump. So I think I can't tell what Governor Wike is still doing in the PDP. I'm not his spokesperson. I don't work with him, but he must have his reasons for remaining in the PDP, because the PDP has sunk, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm happy that what we saw in 2022, it took 3 years for a lot of people to see it now. You understand? Look at someone like Showobi that has never left the party since he has been there. I know what me and Showobi has gone through. I know what the likes of Kachon Nanuju, who has also left, what we did go through for that party. We cannot even, I think maybe 3, 4, 5 of us, when we come together to write a book on what we did go through for PDP, is what amazed a whole lot of people if we write our memos. So the fact remains that we don't pray that there should be no opposition. Don't get me wrong, there will be opposition. There is no way there will not be opposition in 2027. It cannot be a one-party state. People will get dissatisfied. Primaries will take place in APC. A lot of people will also leave who won't get the party ticket, and they will join the opposition. And again, the fact remains that a lot of Nigerians who do not know the truth see this government as one who has brought hardship, but with time now, they're getting to know the truth. I'm happy with what the director of the Nigerian Orientation Agency is doing now, sending the message across. Because people are not talking. When you don't talk, people will not know what you're doing. Do you understand? But again, the impact of what they are also feeling matters. Even if you talk and they put their hands in their pocket and there's no money in their pocket, if you like, talk from now till thy kingdom come, they wouldn't see any reason to believe you. So invariably there will be opposition, but I don't think that opposition is going to come from PDP. I think even Atiku himself has seen that the PDP has completely sunk. Did you see him at the last NEC meeting? He wasn't there.
Okay. There's so much to talk about. At this stage, let me take a break. So we'll come back and continue with this conversation. Stay with us, please. Vision and strategy in the office of the Senate President, Ken Okolubo. His friends call him Kenny. Thank you very much for being with us.
You never called me Kenny. Why did you call me Kenny today?
No, because I was reading stuff online, and I see that even you yourself, you refer to yourself as Kenny in the third person sometimes, now and again. So I said, okay. Only Ken is what I've always
known. But that's my name. My full name is Kenny Ekenechukwu Okolubo. What were you reading online, sir?
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to sort of lead gently into it. I was wondering if you might be calling it, when I say you, in the Senate, a distraction between, the leadership of the Senate and a distinguished senator who is on suspension right now. And you have entered into the matter tangentially in the sense that you are reported to have put out some admission and consequent apology and a subsequent denial by you. So all of this is, I don't know what to call it really. Has it been something of a distraction to the serious business of the Senate?
Yes, I agree with you. It's a huge distraction. I only got back yesterday because of the Salah break. My family is in Lagos. I was rudely working on this. I would say rudely working because Liberals Oshoma kept calling me repeatedly, and sometimes he calls me like that in the morning. I was like, Liberals, why are you calling me like this? You early bird, stop disturbing me. I was with my wife and my son, my last son. And he said, Ken, please wake up. It's very serious. I said, what is it now, Liberals? My wife also woke up, and to sum it up, he said, go to your Twitter. I think your Twitter account has been hacked. There is a purported apology that you have made. And I said, Liberals, it's not possible. He said, I'm telling you, go to your Twitter page. And he started reading to me what was there. So that now jolted me. And eventually I got to my Twitter page, and I was very shocked to see 3 paragraphs of a purported apology that I had written to Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, and I was first taken aback. I didn't even know how come I still had access to my Twitter. And I realized that they had not changed my password. My son, I'm telling you in all honesty, Uncle Yori, I did not even remember my password. It was my son that, I don't know, you know, these children are very internet savvy. He was the one that eventually, Son Fichuku, he's in Atlantic Hall, JS3. He was the one that eventually changed, we got a notification on my email. The email sent a number and he was able to recover my Twitter with a password. And but what amazed me most, Uncle Yori, was that the version that was on my Twitter account wasn't what was on 3 major bloggers, Adeola Fayehu, okay, I won't call Rufai a blogger, he's a journalist, Rufai Husseini of Arise, and one blogger called Tunde Etnot. I saw a 4th paragraph that said there have been numerous meetings held in London, and that those meetings were held with my boss, the Senate President, all to clothe, manipulate, and denigrate Senator Natasha Akpoti-Oduwa. And that was not even what was on my Twitter handle, what was even posted on my Twitter handle by those who hacked it. And little did people know that we had discovered this, and I had to upload my passport. Because, you know, interestingly, Uncle Yori, I have not been to London this year. In fact, I have not traveled out of the country this year, unfortunately for them. The last time I was out of the country was on the 5th of November, 2024. And I came back on the 15th of November, 2024. And so that just put paid to their lives. And you know what even was more amazing, Uncle Yori, was the fact that they were now asking how I got into my account. If Uncle Yori says this is not my signature, and Kola says no, sorry, Uncle Yori says this is my signature, and Kola comes to say no, this is not your signature. Is it Kola that will tell Uncle Yori his signature, or is Yori that will tell Kola his signature? And that was when I now realized that it was syndicated. They had already put up those paragraphs. They had shared it among these very major influencers. The thing had gone viral. In fact, people that had not contacted me in years contacted me. I know one major thing they did again was that they said in the spirit of Allah, Salah, may Allah have mercy on me. I'm a knight of St. Christopher. I was knighted by the Lord Bishop of Ndokwa Diocese when I was 37, 2010, June 5th. I have always expressed my Christian principles. How would I be calling on Allah to have mercy on me? And so what I have just done is that, taking into consideration the position of my boss, who is number 3 citizen of this country, I have written a petition to Inspector General of Police, and Inspector General of Police has caused a very detailed investigation, which I will make public to Nigerians, so that this will act as a deterrent to others. For example, Yori, if you look at this now, this is my international passport. If you look at this page now, this is my visa. This is my visa, my British visa. If you look at it, I've displayed it on social media. You look at this stamp, this is the 5th of November 2024. If you look at the next page, Uncle Yori, you will see that I have arrived, I left Nigeria 5th of November 2024, and I arrived 15th November 2024. If you look at all the other pages, Uncle Yori, they are blank, not one stamp on them. You know, facts are always sacred. You know, and you know, I wonder, look at it. I'm just going to just open it to the end so that people can see it on your program, because I want to rest this case once and for all. You can see all the pages are blank, not one stamp on any of the pages of
and what does that imply?
Passport. You cannot.
What does that imply?
You cannot put something on nothing, okay, Uncle Yori. And you know what amazes me is the intelligence of some Nigerians that you expect to be more intelligent. That would have heard that somebody has denied a statement, and they will be asking, maybe he was threatened. Do I look like somebody that can be threatened, Uncle Yori? At least I know if no other person holds that brief for me, you can hold that brief for me.
I wanted to ask a question, but Uzo is on the line, so let me take him. Good morning, Uzo. Thank you for calling in. What did you want to...
Good morning.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, ma'am.
Uncle, you can see this Natasha is that something else is there. Tomorrow they will say Akpabio fans, they are bad, they are this. You can see Natasha's fans, the way they are behaving, complicating issues. It's only God that will settle this matter. All right.
Well, okay. Thank you very much. I think that was Uzo. Well, as that lady said, it's a distraction. You know, what is going on now is
it's a complete distraction. And you know, unfortunately, the fact is that even with the matter on, the Senate has, I can't wait till June 13th. Don't worry, by the time it gets to June 13th, Senator Daromodu will show you all that has been achieved even after this issue started in February 2025. If you see what he will reel out, it will amaze you. And the documentary will also be on your station. Yeah. The documentary by the 10th Senate. Nigerians will see for themselves what has been achieved under Godswill Akpabio. And they will now understand why they usually use that word. They associate him with that word, uncommon.
Yeah, this Senate has been described as has been referred to as the uncommon Senate. But let me ask you, what did Senator Godswill Akpabio, what did he think? What did he say following this state where you've just sort of explained it a bit, your account, you've reported that it was hacked into, and they put stuff out there that is... I don't know. Well, there are some improbabilities.
No, he encouraged me. He encouraged me that he was happy that I took steps to write to the Inspector General of Police, and he encouraged me that I should follow it up. I mean, there was nothing else he has not seen, so nothing will be beyond him. But you know what was amazing most, Uncle Yori, is that I'm his consultant on communication and strategy. I'm supposed to be his image maker. How then can I be the one writing such a letter? You know, it's not done. I did not resign my position. Unfortunately, I've not been out of the country. You said that we're in London planning several, numerous trips. What I think that should be done at this point is to allow Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan concentrate on defending herself with the charges that has been brought by the federal government of Nigeria. You know, probably resuming in the Senate after her 6 months suspension. That is exactly what Nigerians should allow. I mean, in the real sense of it, when the matter is in court, all these things, it's just because this is the age of social media. When the matter is in court, you're not supposed to interfere. This is interfering with the case in court. Because what they were trying to do, those who hacked my email, was first of all to cast aspersions on my person, denigrate my principal, that is Godswill Akpabio, and give the impression that maybe the evidences that will be tendered in court were compromised evidences. And that is why this investigation, I'm happy the Inspector General of Police is a very thorough person. It's going to be very thorough and will mark those who are behind it. Okay.
Reverend Dominic, good morning, sir.
Chief Yori, how are you today?
Very well, thank you.
I greet my friend Ken on the studio. Ken, good morning.
Reverend Dominic, it's good to always hear from you.
Ken, good morning.
Yes, he has responded.
Morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Ken, I saw it. I know your character, Ken. You're a very, happy young man. You don't take offense on your ethics. You're not the writer of that. I saw it. I dispatched it. It is this you're a very good man and my friend. But let me say this, Yori. Sure. You can listen to me. I'm not happy with you who have jumped into our ship. I'm not happy. And why do I say that? There's a living witness to Nigeria. God, Bola, and Tinubu. Many years ago, once upon a time, APC used to have 6 states. The original of Obasanjo's land is 5. And the standing man there was the president today, which is our president. He stood. He did down the ship when others jumped out of AD. As people are jumping out of PDP into APC, I'm so scared. We formed this party as a special party. We are going to whether you like it or not, Ken, our democracy is maturing. One day we look at America. If it's not Republican this year, it may be Democrat next year. And when it's in America, the Republican doesn't jump ship because they lost election. The Democrat doesn't jump ship because they lost election. But the way you put jump ship in Nigeria is none of us. That shows the man. I know you very well. When you move from PDP to APC, I know well, it's a kind of politician, you're looking for appointment and got it. And when would we have character in Nigeria to say this is my party? we will stand here and build it and make it well. So most of you in the I think people need to watch about people. But if you can betray a party today, there's nothing stopping you to betray another party tomorrow. That's my contribution. We want to get each other as character. We can't be slogging, changing like weather in name of politics or appointment. There must be a man of character. And the man of character today is a president. Because he stood the wings of last time, and today is a president. But he don't betray anybody. He stood and built a strong party. And look at the reward. Most of you who are changing like weather, will not just you well. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Dominic, for calling in. Ken, did you want to say anything? This whole
I think Reverend Dominic made a whole lot of sense. You see, I think for the first time, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is going to go down in history as the one president, that brought birds of different feather, completely different feather, to conglomerate together, and that is because of one thing. Oh, let me give you an example. The chairman of my local government, Possible Ajede, is the chairman of Ukwani local government area. I opposed him so much when he was to become the chairman of Ukwani local government area. I thought first he was too young. I felt he was not even married. I felt he was not going to be able to do the job. And because I'm a very strong leader in that local government, he went through a lot before he eventually became under Okowa. Funny enough, I wasn't even having an appointment before he became the chairman of that local government. But today, I'm his #1 supporter. In fact, when he was going for second tenure, I did not want to see or hear any evil or see no evil. Because of what he had done, that endeared me to him. He completely shut me up. And everything that was against, I was completely, not only did he disprove me, he shut all of us up that were against him. So what am I saying here? And he's still the chairman of Ukwani local government area. What I'm saying here is that you can endear yourself to people who have worked against you by the way you are going to perform. Your performance is what will endear you to these people. And I think that is what is going for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. What he is doing, his sincerity. Okay, look at the EFCC, for example, if I may digress. People were accusing Tinubu of being a corrupt person. But in all honesty now, Yori, has there been any president that has fought corruption like Tinubu? There's been none. And that's the absolute truth. Not even under Buhari, who was supposed to be the anti-corruption czar. I'm a very realistic person. Today, the EFCC is turning to an IGRO, providing seed capital for NEL funds, 50 billion, providing seed capital for the consumer credit scheme, providing funds. And again, you now put someone in Ola Olukoyode who is incorruptible. And that's because you realize that if he did not fight corruption, if he did not plug those leakages, his government will not move forward. And even when you say, I'm close, look at the kind of people that have been arraigned by Ola Olukoyode. They are more of APC than even the so-called opposition parties. And so it is what you do. He said, by their fruits you shall know them.
Okay. Well,
I don't just talk. I talk with facts. If I wasn't convinced that Senator Godswill Akpabio was innocent of what he was accused of, I would have resigned my appointment since. But I've seen facts beyond reasonable doubt. A lot of facts that we have not even brought to Nigerians.
Indeed. Well,
and so you must look at a man and look at his qualities. And that's what endears people to that man.
All right. Let me bring on Mazi Okoroafo. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, I guess. Oh, well, we thank God today at the eve of democracy. Now, when we talk about the Senate, there are things I want us to look at. They are trying, at least, they are trying in the sense that, one, they said there will be issues comes up in the public, they will come to the Senate that they are going to investigate. But what is annoying me is that when they say their investigation, that they stay panel to investigate, we will not hear the outcome of the report. Anything that comes to the public, they say they are going to investigate. At the end of the day, we will not see the report, which is not heard. The Senate should at least, in as much as they are going to issues that are affecting Nigerians, different constituencies, different states, different local governments, do the needful, investigate, bring report, and any culprit do the needful. That is why they are there to make the laws for Nigeria. They are not to make the laws for the Federal Republic of Nigeria. They are the matters that matter, and that these are the key people for the Constitution and the laws of this country. When they do this and they're not doing it, it's not. And look at our educational sector. At least the Senate, any universities that comes on board, they will not waste time, they will give approval. They should also make sure that all those universities that approve, they are functional. A situation whereby you give approval to the university, if the approval is just time board, it doesn't make sense. Anything they say approval, make sure those committees go back and investigate those things they approve are working. That is what we gingered Nigeria say, yes, Senate are working. But they should try the needful.
All right.
This insecurity that is ravaging the whole 774 local government, they should do the needful, whatever has to do with security.
Oh, okay, Mazi. Thank you very much. Okay, but as you said, Ken...
But Uncle Yori, you know I said I was going to refrain from giving all the scorecards because
you
it
did.
is not...
That was what I was just going to say.
We have an image maker and a very capable spokesperson. Yes. But Mazi Okorafor, I will just correct you there. There have been over 50 petitions that has been treated by the Senate out of almost maybe hundreds of petitions that have been signed, that has been submitted. And over 28 has been resolved. Those statistics will be reeled out by Senator Adara Modu. And one of the things you must also agree, Mazi Okorafor, is that the Senate President does not even start any sitting without first of all asking if there's been any public petition. Maybe where I can agree with you is that these things have not been made available to the public. And that would be a hint that we have gotten from you. These things will be made more available to the public so that you can know about the issues that have been resolved by the Senate. But to say that the issues that have been resolved are not resolved, no, they've been resolved. I just gave you a peep into what...
well, not reported. He didn't say not resolved. He said there wasn't a sort of a report back. And I guess all these, a lot of government functionaries...
Okay, so that goes with what I'm saying, that there should be more public exposure to the resolutions that have been done for such petitions.
Yes, and it's not just in the Senate. Even the President, as you know, complained about the same thing in relation to his own cabinet and had given his own...
Yeah, the President said his ministers are not speaking. And you know, it gets frustrating when you are achieving so much and people are not speaking about it. But I think the buck always stops in the table of the principal.
Indeed. Well, I appreciate you fully when you say that we have to wait on the image maker, so to speak, of the Senate in the person of Senator Adara Modu, and that's, you know, on the 13th. They'll be reeling out a lot of stuff. So I understand you probably do know about all of this, but again, I admire your reticence in saying that, look, there's somebody who's going to do that in a full way. So I appreciate
Certainly.
that. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And it's been a delight. I didn't want to dive too much into the Natasha Akpoti-Odoaga affair.
Thank you, Uncle Yori, for not diving too much into it. You should allow the courts to take charge of this matter.
Okay, we'll leave it and hope that that also is resolved in a very short time, you know, to the mutual satisfaction of everybody, because it's justice that the senator has been talking about, and I can't imagine a person in the office of the Senate President wanting anything apart from truth and justice himself. So I guess it's a fine place to leave it, so as not to comment on what is already